What's up, guys? Welcome into the new version of Fart. I'm Connor Ferguson here with Jeff Woody, Colin Newell. How you guys? How you doing?
Good, man. Excited to be out here. Excited to be talking to Cyclone fans.
I'm doing all right. It's football and random things. We're a professional podcast here.
I know.
It's not none of these vulgarities.
I'm excited. I haven't missed an episode since it started.
You've farted regularly.
I fart every single. One day I'm gonna do one in here. Fart.
You are currently farting in here.
Yeah,
Thank
it's gonna be a fun episode when that comes up. Today my bowels are doing good. I was brought on here though to kind of curtail your analogies, and I told Chris yesterday. I said I'm the worst person for this. I'm not there. None of them will be curtailed. Like I understand. That's how I understand football is by Jeff Woody's wild analogy that doesn't even connect the two, but it compares them in similar ways.
Then at some point, we're going to Tarantino this thing and bring it back in at the very end. You're like, oh,
we were talking about football.
That's why we showed it at that point. Yes. Okay. Got it. Yeah. So you're welcome for, I guess, education via completely random side tangents.
Absolutely. And Colin, you aren't a podcaster, really.
What
made you want to do this?
I had the opportunity, and I like Jeff's analogies here, so I thought maybe I can strengthen my conversation skills some by being able to throw some analogies in there. And what better way to do it than by hearing them every Tuesday? So just pumped up, and man, love the Cyclones. Obviously, growing up in Ames and going to every game growing up. So what better way to be in it than that?
I think one of the things that is nice about having Colin here, so little like behind football or inside can we go inside football instead of inside baseball?
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of saying
inside football. Specific. Inside football here. One of the things that's nice about having Colin here, one, is he's a good dude, which makes conversation easier. And two is that he played center. And we're going to get into like a decent amount in the weeds on the logistics of how offenses run. But there's a reason why I was thinking about this on the way in. There's two positions that generally speaking are going to be better to articulate what an offensive lineman does. The center is going to be the best because he has to know what's going on. The other one are the tackles because they generally also have to know everything outside of there. Have you seen a guard as an analyst on television anywhere?
I'm thinking of Jeff Saturday right away. Center. Guy, he knows what he's talking about.
You got Joe Thomas, who's a tackle. Like if you think about all the guards that you've played with, makes sense. Does it not?
Yeah, I don't think you're far off. I think there's some guys out there maybe that are forced into positions that are playing guard, but maybe have that ability. But definitely, the stereotypical. You're probably pretty straight on there.
Guards are. They're the dudes that like if you are in a bar fight, you want a guard with you because they're usually they're sharp dudes. They don't really care to get too much attention, but they just want to mess somebody up.
Absolutely.
And they're 6'3", 320, and have like a 500-pound bench press. That's a guard.
And they're going to move people.
They're going to move people.
Yeah.
You're going in a direction there. I was going to let you get this show canceled by all guards.
I don't think
you turned it back, but we're good.
The large guard contingent in the listening audience. I thank you for doing your job very, very well.
There's got to be a Facebook group out there that's just guards. Someone made that like at some point. No, but before we really get into things, I didn't even say the ad stuff. So we are presented by Wiffles Hybrids in the Wild Rose Casino and Resort Studio. Nailed that. Did not get a sheet to read, but they are both great companies and partners of us.
Blame Williams for not getting a sheet.
Yeah. No, C-Dub dropped the ball on that.
He did.
Very hard.
He did. Throw anybody else under the bus.
But look at you. You came up and you were ready to roll.
Barely. We made it here. This show being at 9 a.m. every week is going to throw me off.
9 a.m. is early for Connor.
It is. Like next Monday, I'm going to watch a sprint car race till at least midnight. It's in Washington. I'll watch it all live. I'll write a story after. I'll get to bed. It'll be 1:30, and then I'll be running in here at 9:30.
This isn't for the week.
This is
not for the week.
No, but I'm excited for the dang season to get here. But I think we wanted to talk a little about the offensive line coach in Ryan Clanton and his arrival to Ames and what he kind of brings. I want to see what you know about him and how much you've worked with him.
Yeah, obviously I haven't been around him a ton, just being out of it for a little while, but heard really great things from the guys that are currently on the team. They're really feel like they're feeding into his mentality, violence, everything like that, which has to make every Cyclone fan very happy hearing the word violence and seeing that as an offensive lineman, kind of like you said, from those guards, especially moving people, knocking people out is something that's going to be successful. And certainly something that a violent offensive line is never going to be a bad offensive line.
So one of the things that I think the listeners, because the job of that, the reason we're here is because, I mean, as former players, you have a little bit more information than what like a general, like what Williams and Bloom are going to provide. They're going to be way better at like everything that comes around the game. But once you get inside the sidelines, there's just more information because you've seen it.
Yeah.
Having been in different rooms and having been in an offensive line room, several, what is the difference that a new offensive line coach can bring? Because did you go from Manning to Myers? Because you had a switch of having position coaches. What is the transition between coaches like, and how does a new coach change things? Like, even if it's not schematically, how does a new coach change things in an offensive line room specifically?
Yeah, I think that this one's probably a little bit different than the one I went through going from Manning to Myers, because Manning was the head guy and Myers was assistant GA, whatever we called the extra guy there. So that was pretty similar. He had coached him, where this is bringing an outside guy, and what you've seen from him, first of all, is spectacular things up in UNI. Getting some of those guys developed and sending people to the NFL. And
did you ever see the stat of the school he was at before UNI? He was there for 4 years. Obviously, that's 20 starters on a typical 4 years of offensive line. If you have 5 starters every year, 19 of the 20 kids he coached were all conference picks.
Wow. That's exciting. I didn't even know
really
that.
Impressive.
That's my favorite stat, and I don't remember the school or anything about the conference, but I remember 19 and 20.
Yeah, I think, but kind of getting back to your question here about what he brings and how that changes the offensive line and room and stuff like that. And I just think that he's a guy that he's bringing energy every single day. Some of the stuff I've heard is that he's there, he's intense, that he wants people to come out there and literally think, hey, I don't have to be perfect, I just have to be really, really violent. Which can be a good thing. It can be freeing, allow players to play fast and really get after the other team there. So I think that it's going to be cool to see how those guys come out and be able to take in his knowledge, whether that be some drills that are different, just the mentality, the culture of that room, and see what they're able to do.
Yeah, I time for analogy. So I think
there we go. I knew, hey,
awesome.
Here we are.
Awesome.
So I think golf is my favorite sport to play, and we played a little bit, and Colin can hit the piss out of the ball, which is great. But when just thinking about golf, and you'll see people like Matthew Fitzpatrick just finishing second or third in the BMW this past week, and most of his irons were pretty bad. Like, just generally, they were all over the place. Well, one of the things about kind of playing within yourself in golf is understanding what you've got and what you don't have, and not getting mad when the thing you think you should be doing isn't working. So if you're Rory McIlroy and you're normally the guy that drives it 500 yards down the middle, and all of a sudden it starts to spray a little bit, you got to go, all right, well, might not be able to count on that. So I'm just going to confidently say, that's not my thing today. Let's just get irons to be good. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because with offensive line play, it's the same thing. You can't be perfect. You can't have a driver be perfect, an iron be perfect, and a putt be perfect on every single hole.
Unless you're Tiger Woods in his prime.
Tiger Woods in his prime, in which case, then you're going to win the Masters by 12 strokes. But when you're playing offensive line, maybe your steps are a little slow. Like, your legs feel heavy today. Maybe your hands aren't totally in the right spot. Maybe you might not, like, the defense you're playing is really weird, and like you might not have the right read, or maybe this dude, you're playing a hell of a defensive end. You might not be perfect, but understanding, like, what do I got today and what do I need to do? Baseline, I'm going to move somebody out of the way. And I think when the thinking is sinking situation is when you try and process everything, it's sort of like getting mad when your driver's not working, as opposed to just accepting that it's not working. So Clanton, with him saying do everything violent, meaning you might not know what's going on, your steps might not be perfect, your hands might not be perfect, but if I want you to do anything, just hit somebody and move them out of the way. And if you do that, however you get that done, that's going to be a successful thing, which feels like the baseline for your plays. The worst thing that can happen gets better if all of your offensive linemen are doing that.
Yeah. When people are on the ground, good things are going to happen. You look at a play and you see some of these guys break big plays, and normally someone ends up on the ground. And every single time you knock someone down, they have to get back up, and they're going to start to feel heavy, and they're going to have to bring someone else in. And people aren't supposed to be on the ground in football.
Even if that's not the guy you were supposed to block, or even if it's not the direction you're supposed to go, if you pancake somebody, that sucks.
Yeah. and you're going to get motivation. I tell you what, people feed off of that. Offensive lines feed off of that. When you get knockdowns, that's a good thing. That's something that you celebrate, and certainly something that's celebrated because it produces good things.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like what I bring to the show is like I was a fan forever before I got into like trying to understand the game or write about the game or anything like that. And social media standpoint, you could kind of, if you watched every single video the football program put out, you you probably had that list of 5 or 6 guys involved in the gambling investigation because it was obvious they weren't in any of the videos.
Mhm.
Well, Clanton hasn't missed a rep
Mhm.
on the videos. Everyone, he's active and saying the word violent about one time every 5 seconds or so, it feels like. And you just like he commands like some sort of fandomship or respect from the fan base because of what it seems to be a very hands-on style of coaching that the players are responding to really well. And I think there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, and I think this is personally, I know that as a running back, when I played running back versus when I played more fullback H-back, like the mindset is a little bit different. So thinking more with like the fullback mindset, which is it's like an offensive lineman with a running start.
Mhm.
So like I'm littler, but I have to hit someone from a distance. So it's like that kind of thing where like you have to, even if you don't have a screw loose in your head, you have to knock a screw loose in your head to kind of get ready for it. And the person who can keep that aggression without losing, without being able to lose your focus it's a really fine needle to thread. So like you can have a guy who's just like wants to go absolutely hog wild and then just run into anybody and just get into a fight with anyone, but that doesn't really produce anything. So like being able to focus that screw looseness into a functional direction, that's the magical little happy medium that Clanton seems like he walks.
I think just the consistency there too. Like if we're hearing this on the social media as often as we are and stuff, then like he's saying that every single meeting, every single day. Like if he's reaching violence, guys are going to be getting knockdowns, and it's going to be like, hey, that's what we need. Like just hearing that every single day, and when you hear someone else do, hey, you did a good job, and it was violent, that starts to breed culture, absolutely. And I think it'll be cool to see what he does this year, and then going forward with some of these guys that are starting off with, hey, violence every single day, is certainly something in between the lines that will be appreciated as fans.
And I know his kind of philosophy, and let me know what you were coached under and what the kind of their philosophy was, but he told me multiple times, like the best 5 players are going to play. No one has positions. Every lineman is going to know every position, and that's what we're going to throw out there. Is that similar to what Iowa State has had, or is that way different?
Yeah, I would say that's very similar. I think you see that in some guys like Hufford playing some different positions, but I think that's really strong when guys know every position. You're going to be able to communicate better. You're going to be able to understand better, and you're going to be able to have that unit instead of no other position that you play as five people as one in the offensive line. So when everybody knows what their responsibility is and they know their partners and they know how to communicate that, because let's get into truth here. There's times in games where you see fronts that you didn't prepare for. Woody, I'm sure you can say that too. Even, hey, run block, we thought that this was going to go, and we thought this is where the running back was going to cut, but hey, it doesn't always work as how it's drawn up, and that's why you got to be able to adjust on the fly and be able to make some of those reads and changes and stuff like that. So when you know what someone else's responsibility is and how to get there, it certainly does help you.
Yeah, and I think even I use the basketball example a lot, where in basketball there are specific positions, but it can float in and out. You can play a 4-guard lineup. You can play. It'd be weird if you like the twin posts where you could play 2 7-footers if you had them, but like you can do that, and it's all allowed within basketball. And what you're trying to find is the most effective group of 5 people on the floor. Now, that doesn't mean that Monte Morris is going to play center like that, though. There are still specific body types, specific skill sets that lend themselves better to positions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can have like Texas Tech when they went to the Elite 8, when they were just that, like a rock fight that you're going to win. It's everybody's 6'7" and about 240 pounds, like basically just everybody across the board. And that is truly like floating around. It's hard to play anything against, but like with an offensive line, there's going to be a guy who's generally going to be better as a center because he is probably the fastest processor, and it's probably not 7 foot tall. Like you need to have leverage at center because you have to snap and get right back underneath it. if you're a 7-foot center, there's just it's a lot of leverage to try and turn. And at the same time, your tackle is probably not 6'1", because you have there's more length, there's more ground you have to cover, so taller tackles tend to be better. But at the same, so you have like, you know, a guy like Tyler Miller is probably not playing center, and a guy like you could probably play across the line at 6'3", 6'4". You could probably flex, but there are certain guys that, like Tom Farniak, when I played with him, he's 6'2", 285. Like, he's probably not playing tackle. So like there are certain body types and skill sets that lend themselves well. But beyond that, even if those guys, if Tyler Miller he's not playing any other position than tackle, because if you could design a tackle in Madden, it's going to be shaped like Tyler Miller. But if he knows what the guard is doing and the other guard is doing, we have a combo block, and let's say there's a pull where he's supposed to down block, and he knows the guard is going to pull, and he has to, the guy the guard is pulling for is going to be, oh shoot, it's that linebacker that's playing in space that's going to be coming up. I know that I should probably call that out, or maybe I cut my split out a little bit, or I communicate down and say like, hey, you know, whatever your call is, shark, or something like that. And know that you need to get a little bit more work on your defensive end, because I know what the other guard's doing. Even if there's no chance that I ever play right guard, if I know what all the positions are doing, I know how to make my buddy's job easier. Then I can help him out, just like a point guard doesn't ever play center, but he knows, how do I get a better angle, an entry pass angle, so Rob Jones can get an easy back to the basket layup.
I think that's a huge point there. Just the communication that can happen when you know someone else's responsibility, if someone's pulling, hey, if they're bringing that Sam linebacker up, outside linebacker, and hey, they're going to bring this blitz. If we're able to notify each other, this is where it comes back to the, hey, 5 people playing as one. If we're able to help each other out and say, hey, we've scouted this, we've been watching the film, we've been practicing it and repping it. Hey, they're going to bring this blitz. So, hey, if on this pull, it might be a little bit quicker because that linebacker's filling this gap right away. Yeah,
because you can't see it. If it's a pull and kick or something like that, and he's going all the way around the outside, he can't see it. Like, you can sort of kind of, it's like looking through traffic in a hallway. Like, you can kind of tell where that person is. But if Miller goes, hey, make the call, and it gets passed all the way down, and it gets communicated to the guard, and he's like, hey, thanks, buddy, I got it. I know this is going to hit faster. It's going to hit tighter. It's going to be a wider track or whatever, because you're coming a pull, something like that. A pull is coming in totally blind,
and it helps everyone else too, because if they're bringing one backer, then other gaps are probably getting filled and people are moving, and we're just making football happen.
Woody wrote it in the rundown here in kind of an insulting way. It says, "What does a center even do?" But going into that, I wanted to add: when you guys are calling stuff out on the line, because I played football through high school, not good. Right. Shouldn't have been playing football that long. Should have just focused on hockey and losing weight earlier in my life. But anyways, did you guys start your calls at the line at the center position and work outward, or is it on a strong side tackle that starts and you go down?
Yeah, so typically center would come up, identify the front. So if they're playing an odd front where nose guard's over the center, directly over, and then defensive ends, and got a 3 down front like Iowa State runs, or 4 down kind of like Iowa, where it's going to be 2 interior guys and then 2 defensive ends. I'm really just getting started with that, because teams anymore, they're coming in and out of odd and bringing linebackers down, playing defensive.
It's just easier to identify.
It's easier to say, hey, this is what's going on, and then we know how to attack it from there, because we have different rules for different fronts. And when you're able to say center, this is where we're going to be our starting point. You need a starting point, so this is going to be the starting point. And then going from there, everything's kind of able to, once you've played enough football and you've been able to see enough fronts and through practice and through coaching, then hey, this is kind of how the play is going to work.
So you were the guy kind of starting it off, right?
Yep. So
did you ever screw one up?
Odd and even's pretty hard to mess up.
Yeah, that's okay. that particular one.
No, well, yeah.
That's like, is this blue or red?
Yeah. But definitely there's certain times when it gets into formations or game plans and things like that, where it's, hey, if this guy's a shade, real tight shade, you see that sometimes now too, and different people moving around, and defenses are just so fluid anymore that they have gap responsibility. After that, hey, let's go out there and line up in the craziest way we can.
And as you said, at some point, like if you're just violent with it, that kind of can shield a mistake if you're lucky, right?
Absolutely. But no, yeah, we get up there and identify the front, and then obviously play calls are important. Depends what you're doing, and being able to go down the line kind of from there and know what's going to happen, and then one person starts saying what they're doing, and it just kind of sets up naturally for everyone else to know what they're doing at that point. So when you start in the middle and you're able to make those initial calls and make sure that stuff's going to the right points, mic points, everything like that, where those first double teams or whatever it is are going, then you're really able to iron everything else out and say, hey, if this person's going here, we know that this is a play we're running. This is where our double team or whatever it is naturally is going to go to next.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because when you're getting an offensive play call in, there's different languages of play calls. Like the example I used before we started recording is like, if I say ventana, that means window in Spanish. If I say window, that means window in English. We're talking about the same thing. We get the same result of identifying that thing is a window.
You're pointing at a wall, Jeff.
Yeah, there's no window in this room.
There's a window right behind
this
you.
way. That way. For anyone watching, I'm pointing at a door. But when with languages of offense, and then also the mechanisms of that, like Colin had in the offense that he ran, had a lot more responsibility than the centers that we had, because of just the language and how the offense progressed. So how a play call came in under Herman, and it sort of kept the same structure when we had Messingham afterwards, which was we tagged everything, meaning it would be like a random play call would be like B861 sail smash or something like that. And those, what that meant is that B is the running back's route, 861 meant play action, and then 61 is the type of protection that you're going to use. So the only thing the offensive line needed to know was 861. So it's play action. We're going to have the mic or the ID. We're going to have the man side on the left. We're going to have a zone side on the right. And that setup, then once the offensive line heard that, the center then starts going through his 61 rules. So he was then saying, all right, who are we setting the blocking scheme off of? They call that guy the Mike. So Mike is the first linebacker past the center or past the ball to the play side. So it's that guy. Now, once he calls out the Mike and he identifies the front, then everybody else then knows, all right, we're basing our stuff off of that, because we would have, let's say it's one past the Mike or one past the ID, or one backside or -1 of the ID, and you're going to the front side or to the back side or whatever. So once you get the play call in, the center's the one that says, hey, everybody, we're setting our blocking scheme off of that guy, and then communicating who's getting what from what. But the guards and tackles have to know their responsibilities from there, versus in your offense, it was a little bit different than that, because you had to set more of that information, right?
Yeah, it's very similar to what you said. Finding mic points is the key point. So first guy head up to play side of whatever structure we're doing or whatever direction we're going is obviously a key point. And just kind of understanding what the responsibility is, seeing how and anymore it's a lot of scheming stuff. Third down blitzes versus first down blitzes, what you're going to be aware of are going to be very different. So being aware of what they're going to be bringing to you, and that's where coaches are getting you right, and making sure that you're set up to be in a position of success. So being able to go up there, identify fronts, being able to identify mic points, and then being able to get the team and get the offensive line, being able to understand what their responsibility is really kind of the job of the center, and then working out from there and having communication all the way down. That's kind of what we talked about earlier. Hey, maybe Tyler Miller sees that this linebacker's creeping up, and all week in practice when we saw that meant that they were bringing that blitz. But being able to alert everyone of what's going on in that situation, it allows the whole offensive line to communicate, because maybe the center can't see out all the way to that linebacker. So him helping out and then be able to get the rest of the offensive line on the same mindset and same goal is what you're really looking at there.
I hope everyone else got that. I did, but I want to get a whiteboard for you guys. When the season gets going, I feel like that will make things a lot easier too.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially we got this camera and this interrogation light set up. Our producer wasn't he's
Aiden,
pretty hands-on on what he allowed us to do.
I'm going to tell you once again, it's too goddamn bad.
Wow.
I appreciate that. That is correct.
Explicit language from Aiden. You're the first one to do it on this show.
No, so like the interesting thing that you're talking about, like just a base defense, is you have to know what everybody's doing. And if you have to have these sort of catch-all rules that fit pretty much anything, because you don't know, like as an offense, there are rules against starting too soon. You can't move around. Once you go up there and get set, you have to stay there. Like the defense can do whatever they want. Like I don't know if they ran that radar or amoeba defense against you. Like that, the whole point of that defense is the fact it's testing your rules. Like if I'm an offense and we come out and we have a tight end on the right, 2 receivers on the left, a slot receiver that's off to the tight end side. So now we're a 2x2, 2 receivers in the right, tight end slot, and then 2 receivers in the left, 2 receivers, running back in the backfield, quarterback. There's our
on the
formation.
left side or the right side.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It matters for me, Jeff.
So pistol, split the middle.
Oh,
And-
that's disgusting. I hate the pistol.
Same.
You
Anyway, so you're 2x2, whatever. The defense then can go, based on our film study of you, when you come out in this formation, you like to run to the tight end side. So we're going to set our defense in the best possible position to move that. So when you walk out and you break the huddle or you walk up to the line, whatever, and you get set, the defense is in one certain situation. And then you go, Mike is 52, whatever, call him out. And then all of a sudden they move. You have to be able to react and understand that movement. And the reason why there's these Mike calls is because of that movement, is that someone might become something else. So as long as we all know who we're basing it off of, there's a right answer, but there's no like wrong answers. So long as everyone is blocking more or less the same group of people and the quarterback knows who we're blocking. Because in normal base defense, you got 5 offensive linemen. There's usually 4 rushers. You got enough to block everybody. As long as we know where they're coming from, whether it's a tackle and a guard comboing one or a guard and a center, it doesn't matter. As
You're
long
just
as we
trying to identify who's moving into that Mike position, if it's changing or not.
Right, which 4 are coming. But in blitz looks or in shifted looks or in twists or stunts or whatever, communicating back and forth, you have to know, hey, Mike is this guy. Whoever's on that side, guard or right tackle, you're taking him. Whoever it is on that side. So you just have this communication rule that goes back and forth. So like these catch-all rules, like that's that film study of understanding. We're going to take our best guess. We have to understand what the defensive look is, and we're going to get our best guess at what the best front that we can have or the best protection we can have. But then it's Colin's job to like, hey, this shit is new. Like none of this is clear. Hey guys, let's all agree that this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I think that's the biggest thing is when you get on page and everyone's on the same page. I'm coaching high school football this year, and I'm just trying to talk to these guys right now is, hey, if you guys all make one call and you all plan on that, then we're all going to be working together, and our rules should allow us to be in a position for that. And I think that's kind of the same thing as like, hey, as long as you're all functioning and working together as an offensive line, you're going to be in a pretty good situation.
And then I know what you're doing as a tailback or as a quarterback. Like if it's a running play, it's all the same. Like there's just different. So like calling a mic on a pass play is just identifying where's the man side and where's the zone side, which we can get into at some point later. We don't need to get into that. But like on a run play, it's much more aggressive, which is here's the mic, which means as the center, I'm going to combo with one of the guards to this guy, or that maybe on that particular front, that mic means the guard and the tackle are going to combo to that, whatever. But if I identify, if I'm back there and I see Colin pointing at number 52, I got to know what that means with their blocking scheme to know that based on my rules, this backside Sam backer, we don't have enough numbers for it. We can't get to him. So my cutback is gone. Unless this guy plays way outside, I can't cut back. So I have to stay front side based on what Colin's doing. If he calls it one guy left of that, maybe we have enough for the Sam on the backside, but we don't have enough for the front side. So I have to keep my track a little tighter. I can probably cut back. I shouldn't try and bounce this one. So like you just have to understand and work with what the offensive line are doing. And as long as everybody does the same thing and it's what Colin says that we're doing, then I know what you're doing. Everybody else knows what we're doing, and we can make anything work. So like they got to know what's going on. As long as they do the same thing, then the quarterbacks and running backs, we have an idea of what we're going to be looking at when we actually get there.
Yeah, I think a big thing there too is, you know, kind of like you said, you have your base rules, and then they kind of adjust game to game off of that, because what Oklahoma does on defense compared to what Iowa does on defense compared to what UNI does on defense are different. But hey, if we know that this is kind of base rules, this is what we're going to do, and then we can tweak little things, whatever that may be on run game, pass protection, throughout the week, you're going to be able to have something that, hey, going to the week, this is how we run this. If they do this, then maybe we change a little bit this or that. But overall, you're going to have rules that are going to be concrete, and then you don't have to reinvent your offense every week. Not enough time, not enough knowledge to do that.
Well, I've learned a lot, everybody. I do want to make the executive decision. This last bullet point you have here, Woody, we're going to do that next week. Hopefully we know the starter. I'm guessing we won't. I'm guessing there will be a bold OR next to the depth chart.
There will, if I know.
Do you want to take bets on who's listed first, before and after the OR?
Rocco's alphabetically.
Yeah.
Alphabetically and by grade is older.
Does it go alphabetically?
I don't think so.
I don't think it does.
I think they usually, like the ORs, it's sort of like it's a 51-49 type situation.
I completely agree with that.
So I feel like Rocco will be listed as the
As the
first
first one,
oar,
yeah.
and then JJ will be the second oar.
I agree.
And I feel like Cartavius is going to be the first oar.
Do you
and
think
then
he'll
have-
or Tanner Hughes?
Oh,
I kind of want to see.
he's gonna oar the Tanner Hughes. He
I
is for
hope
sure
so.
gonna
I
oar
like
Tanner
it.
Hughes.
I like when it's like, we'll just kind of see what we have when we run out there week one.
Colin, that's
Every-
a bad media move. We're supposed to discourage that.
Oh,
we
man.
want answers right
Do
now.
you think
I-
Matt Campbell gives a shit?
No,
what
not
the
at
media
all.
thinks.
No, but Colin, he might give a shit what Colin Newell thinks.
I don't think he cares.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
He's
not
got-
gonna
he's
mean
got
to
a big
Colin
job.
though. You shouldn't say that to Colin's face. Jeez.
Well, it's no offense.
Yeah. No.
Matt
My
Campbell's-
goal on
he's
this
got
show by
jobs
the
to
end of
do.
this season is to get a group of football players pissed off at Jeff Woody. And
Really?
I think we can get there. Well,
Yeah.
with his guard talk today and that insult he's throwing at you left and right
I mean,
all morning,
yeah. We're still good yet.
Okay,
we'll see.
just
It's
now.
going to be tough for me to do.
Yeah,
No, I wanted to get everybody to. Everyone knows you.
Yeah.
Right. You're
Yeah.
the Jeff Woody scored
Whatever.
the Oklahoma State touchdown.
and you
was
guys
on
were
the
how old
record.
were you guys when that? Because I'm like the old man
That
in
would
the
have
room.
been 2011, right?
Yeah,
So I was 13, 12,
Yeah.
13,
Same.
I think.
yeah.
Same.
Are you 25?
Aiden,
right now?
how old were you when that
Oh,
happened?
Heck yeah.
Is that how old you are?
Yeah.
Let's
I
go.
didn't-
I
And
was
We got
Colin's
old man
way-
Woody with us.
Well, and you're way more mature than I am, so that throws me off. But yeah, Woody is the old guy here.
And Aiden is how old when that happened?
that was the best day of my 4th grade year.
Oh, jeez, that.
That
Yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm the old guy in the room.
Valley-
Like good year.
Valley won the state championship that night, and my friends were like, "You guys aren't going to the game," and I'm like, "I'm going to go watch Iowa State beat Oklahoma State, hopefully."
That was what their 64th state championship.
I don't know. Gary Swenson is a
Great
nice-
man.
he's a
Very
great
nice guy.
Awesome dude.
Exceptionally nice guy.
You ever
Changed
heard-
the outlook of college football with that big win.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That was
death of the VCS.
I got to go to
basically.
the ESPYs for that, and there's plenty of fun stories that come from that, including John Jones stealing a piece of shrimp off my plate.
All right, no, you're telling the SP story, and Colin's going to tell a college story. That's what I had written down college stories from both of you, but you tell an SP story.
So I've gotten starstruck a few times. One was seeing Jim Brown at the ESPYs, and it was on our way out from where the event actually was held. It was some theater, and then there was a hotel ballroom across the street where they had like the after party. And I was 21, so could actually drink, which is, good at an after party. But because technically NCAA eligibility rules, you couldn't get any of the swag bags. So like you could take free food and stuff, but you couldn't get the stuff, which was dumb. But anyway, we went out. So where we were positioned, let's say it was if you're standing on the stage looking out on the left side of that, or if you're sitting in the crowd on the right side, whichever one you want to look at it. We were sitting front right of that. So we were pretty close to the exit to go from the theater to the stage. And Jake Knott, Jared Barnett, Leonard Johnson, and I were the 4 players that were there. And Jake and I were like, dude, let's just go early, just get the food, and then just set up in the hallway and just people watch the whole way. Cause there's no better people watching on the planet than like the freaking ESPYs.
I agree.
Right.
So the night before 2 nights before, there was like a welcome reception thing. And John Jones was there. Knott was a huge fan of John Jones, went up and said, "Hey, I'm a huge fan," whatever. And so kind of talked to us a little bit. He actually ended up, he wrestled at Iowa Central. So we talked a little bit about wrestling at Iowa Central. He remembered us as the 2 guys from Iowa. So flash forward to us having left early. I shake Jim Brown's hand on the way between here and there, because he was sort of in walking was hard at that point because his knees were bad. So I shook his hand on the way there. We get our food, and knowing that there's a bunch of athletes who have tried to get into like dresses and suits and stuff like that, they're going to be hungry as hell by the time they get there. So there's no chance to get second. So we piled like 7 inches high of food on our plate. And there was
Out of all events, I would feel like the ESPYs would have replenished
a
food
huge amount of food
available.
a
Yeah.
huge amount of food. But anyway, like the line was gonna be crazy. So we had this pile of food, and there's the little cocktail tables. And as people were coming in, you had to walk through this hallway to get into the ballroom where all the food was. And so as people are walking in, the line starts to get longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. And all of a sudden the line is, it's like 10 minutes of just standing before you get food. So John Jones sees this line and just goes, "Sup, guys?" and then steals a piece of shrimp. And I don't even remember if it's my plate or Knott's plate, but like John Jones steals a piece of shrimp off of one of our plates, takes a bite, puts the little tail down.
That's some Michael Jordan stuff.
And
too,
at that
right?
moment, you're like, Yeah, you can have that. You can have, you know what? If you wanted all this food, this is yours, because there is nobody on the planet you're going to beat in a fight less than John Jones.
Yeah, just don't knock me out.
Just don't
take what you want.
Yeah,
Here's my
this is
lunch
yours,
money.
man. So
Without knowing either of you guys and just watching you when I was 12 years old, I would think both of you could beat the crap out of John
absolutely
Jones.
not. Nope.
Well, no, I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that now. I'm just saying 12-year-old me is like, why is he scared of John Jones? What he's way bigger.
You watch John Jones fight, you're like, yeah, no. So yeah, John Jones stole a piece of shrimp off my plate about 5 minutes after I shook Jim Brown's hand. So that's my sort of like, whenever anyone asks for a story of like the craziest sequence of words you could say, it's that sequence of words.
That's decent.
I don't have.
You
any,
don't have to.
I don't
do
have.
it. Call
I don't
a
have
story.
any ESPYs. I mean, like I don't know if I was good.
Yeah, why didn't your team ever go to the ESPYs? Jeez, dude.
I don't. That's a good question.
They
I guess we
expected
don't.
you to be better than they expected us to be, which is why we were only there for biggest upset, which is sort of like a backhanded compliment of like, you're so shitty that we didn't expect you to win this game at all. So they didn't.
Hey, look
expect
at
you
us.
For that,
There you go.
For that to happen for an in-conference like matchup, and it was how good Oklahoma State was, but for that to not be like Howard beating UNLV or whatever that
Yeah,
one
you
year,
still got
it was still a decent.
an upset has to have a shitty team in it, so or at least by perception. So we were that air quotes shitty team. So,
but not that shitty.
No,
you won.
no, we won. Yeah, but it was just you got to. People have to think that you're bad in order for it to be an upset.
Yeah.
Still went to a bowl game.
Still went to a bowl game.
Was that the Pinstripe Bowl?
Yep.
And that
It was.
one was bad, right? Because New York traffic.
It was New York traffic, but it was cool to play in Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
I brought I brought 2 baseball gloves so I could play catch at Yankee Stadium, just to make sure that I had that moment when we did see we did
Did
photos.
you have that moment? How cool
I did.
was it?
It was also with Knott, and I mean you're literally just playing catch in
Yankee Stadium.
Yankees. I mean, it was new Yankee Stadium, so it wasn't old Yankee Stadium. But like you're still playing catch in Yankee Stadium. Actually, Chris Hassel was covering the game, and he was like, "Dude, can I get one of those gloves?" So I played with Knott, and then I played with Hassel on the field, and I just literally just like smuggled my gloves under my shirt, like.
They wouldn't let you just walk it out there?
Well, I mean, you like from the hotel, like on the bus, like you have to like you're going to a team photo,
Yeah,
like
that
you're
is
just
fair,
you put
yeah.
your jerseys on and you just whatever. So like I put the gloves underneath my shirt and just walked them out there, and then just by the time we were on the field, I was like, I'm playing catch at Yankee Stadium because God damn it, I'm playing catch at Yankee Stadium.
Remember it forever.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a tough question, but I mean,
We'll do better with the random things. I'll put more on the list next week.
Yeah.
It'll just be a collection of stories from
Did
social media.
What is 801 day? Am I
Oh,
just
you don't know what
801
okay.
day.
am I just an old ass that
No, I don't know why.
I'm sure it was around when you were there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was there in like a version of it, but it's crazy how many people like don't know the concept. So
I
like,
don't know what I've never
so
heard of
they
it
have-
until this year.
They have sorority rush all week.
Okay, familiar with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
So the girls are not supposed to talk to any dudes from fraternities.
Okay.
That's like the only rule. I mean, they have more stringent rules, and you have to be here, and you have to choose your house, and this BS, right?
Okay. Is there a sorting hat involved?
I don't. There might be.
Okay.
You know, I've seen them choose their houses, and it's just 2,000 girls collectively screaming. What I
Okay.
assume a Taylor Swift concert is like when Taylor walks by
Okay. Anyway.
from like 300 feet away. I don't know. I'm probably pissing people off right now too. But Saturday at 8 a.m. comes, and all those like you can't drink all week, you can't talk to any fraternity dudes. Like all those rules end at 8 a.m. So everyone just wakes up at 8 to get drunk,
At
and then they
801.
drink all day at 8:01. you can
801
drink,
day.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
it's like very simple thing to
Yeah,
explain, right?
that's-
Like it's not. And then everyone
it-
falls asleep by 3 because they don't know how to day drink. Like it was
Pacing.
the same every year. For me.
Pacing. Did you ever? I mean, because camp was never done by. I mean, if it was, camp was never done by then. So.
Yeah, that's what we had talked about before you got here. Is just it was never really a thing for us because
And I always-
camp and couldn't.
And
really
that would have been the final scrimmage then. If it's the final Saturday of rush week, then that would have been the final scrimmage, which is your last day. And then after the final scrimmage, you're like, this is the best I can breathe, but we still would watch film the next day.
Yeah.
But like you watch the scrimmage the next day, but like you don't have to come in and act, like do anything. So that was I don't know about you, but like I never wanted to like drink that night. I wanted to like sit in the air conditioning and then like go to sleep at like 8:30. Like that's what I want to do, is just because you're so freaking exhausted by the end of camp. Like celebration can happen later. I want to sleep.
Was camp still like that for you? Was it similar to that level of stringency, or has it lightened up over the years with how football has gone that direction? I'm just curious because I know like from a high school standpoint it has, but I would assume from a college point it hasn't really.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a contact. It's still long days of waking up early and getting to bed late and living in a different place than you're used to in the hotel and just being not normal life, right? Like all football season. You go to class
Mhm.
and then you go to football. But there's like these 3 weeks that you're just only thing you think about is football. Only thing you breathe is football.
The only people
thing
you
eat.
see are your teammates.
Yes. And that's why you see all these camp fights and like these huge Jets fight and everything like that. And it's like,
Did you ever get in one of those?
there was definitely when you hit the same person every single day, there's going to be people that
So
get
here,
upset.
let me answer that question with another question. Do you have any siblings?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine being on a 3-week road trip with your siblings. What is that going to be like by the time you get done
I wasn't
with 3
judging
weeks?
either of you guys for doing
But
it.
no,
I
this
just
is
like
this
hearing
is for
this.
this is
real.
for you and
Yeah.
the viewers or and the
absolutely.
listeners.
I completely would
Go on a
understand
3-week
that.
road trip with your siblings, and now incentivize contact between those two siblings. Violence, hard contact between those two siblings or between those siblings. By the time you get done with 2 to 3 weeks, you're like, I want to murder you. Just get away from me. Stop. You're taking cheap shots. I'm not touching you. The football equivalent of that happens all the time. That's where camp fights come from. And like with your siblings, I still love my brother, but there are times when you go on vacation or when you're with them for too long, you just want to smack them in the face. So like that, I still love my teammates, and I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, it was, and it
Just
would like
during the
it would
time.
never like be an off the field issue. Like
Oh,
it'd
yeah.
be like hey, I'm tired of your shit. Settle this. Typically after a cheap shot or something happened, and then it's like okay, well, we're good when we get in the locker room and we're all playing football. Everyone knows that tensions are high. It's competitive time. Like
Yeah.
everybody's trying to earn their spot. Everybody's who had a spot, they don't want their spot taken. So
And you're tired, and you're hot.
and you're tired, you're hot. We're gonna feel some of that heat this week, and practice still goes on. So hydrate and don't let it get the best of you.
Right. Now, Woody, I'm finding out that hockey is just accelerated football because we do that in 4 days, and then there's flying pucks around the ice to
Usually,
kind of throw at people if you want.
usually the most fights per day, I would say, is the first day of pads and then like the last 2 or 3 days of camp. Like those two were the ones where it really starts to get like.
So what
Because
you're
it's the
telling
first time
me
you
is
hit
there's
each other.
way more than I'm even thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, not everyone is like a brawl, but
No,
like
yeah.
there's going to be a
Pushing and
shove
shoving.
or
You
like
guys follow
a hand to the face.
Do you guys follow the hockey 1v1? You let it go?
No.
Oh well, that's
until like
you just have more of
until
a
like
risk.
the gloves come off, knees come down. The problem
Yeah.
is the helmets are hard.
That's
so like
yeah.
if someone's really seeing red and like they're starting to, like, most people know, like open hand, like you're not trying to punch somebody, but like if it gets rowdy enough and you see someone really like starting to swing, like I was always one of the first get back guys where like you just you're trying to separate people just because you don't want someone to like break
And
their
you're
knuckle
pulling
on
them
the
by the
helmet.
back.
Have a
You're
guy
pulling them
breaks
by the
in.
back of the shoulder pads, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to
Step in between and catch a hand
Oh,
yourself.
no, these are 400-pound
All right,
bench dudes that are 6'3", like 330. Like I ain't trying to jump
And
in
I
between
think
them.
I think like what happened at Baylor isn't like the stereotypical fight at practice.
Right. Are you
Oh,
talking
like
about what
the
happened in the
Dave
Baylor
Montgomery?
game?
Yeah,
Yeah, the Dave Montgomery
Like,
or
Like,
whatever.
that doesn't always happen. Like it's not like, hey, there's a fight over here, breaks out. Oh, now two guys got separated. Now they're over here. Now it's here. It's like stuff normally comes together. Everyone comes together, and then like,
And you kind of
that's separated
pull them
out.
apart.
Yep.
You're like, hey, chill out. You good? You
Yeah.
good?
That Baylor
All right.
thing was fun.
That was a crazy one. I remember like, oh, here we're running a play. All of a sudden, like
Who got
oh,
thrown out from Iowa State?
well, that was
It wasn't you.
Josh.
was it?
Josh Kniffel,
I thought so.
the right
Okay.
guard. He like
Yes.
got sent up,
Yeah.
and he's like livid. Like obviously, as anybody
Right.
would be like,
He didn't
hey,
do
I
anything.
didn't throw a punch. Like I was literally trying to protect people.
Yeah.
Here, like trying to break stuff up. This whole deal, and then all of a sudden, so you walk all the way up, you get thrown out of a football game for nothing.
The fact that they even threw him out in the first place was
So
nuts.
then he's all the way up in the
Yeah.
locker room, and then has to run back down. They're trying to
Okay,
sort
but
all that
that,
stuff
now,
out.
how cool is the moment when they actually put it on the Stone Cold breaking the glass?
Yeah, that was
you,
awesome.
you guys obviously didn't
Oh,
know
that
that
was
coming.
so cool. That was so cool. But then it's like, holy crap, like that's a lot of running. And then
Yeah.
like the emotions of like, I just got kicked out, like I did nothing. And now you're having to come back and be like, hey, I gotta like refocus. Like you're told your day's done.
How
Probably
was his
suspended for
game?
the beginning
How was
of
his
next
game after that?
Oh, I think
So,
it's violent would probably be a pretty good
Yeah.
a pretty good description of what you saw after that. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we're good. I think we came full circle, and the analogies didn't get too wild today.
Thank you.
So-
We kept him in check, at least for now.
Awesome.
Wait till we have to try and explain why UNI's defensive front changed in the second half, and the intricacies of linebacker.
I'm gonna
play.
have to put like one of those privacy folder things in between us because I could tell you were trying to teach me, and like I zone in and out of listening to people really easily, and I'm like, I hope
Hey,
he's not looking at my eyes
the good
where
news-
I'm looking because I'm just kind of out here.
The good news about a podcast is you can't, but the listener, if when Colin was talking about odds and evens, you want to rewind that, you listen to it again, go ahead.
Maybe we need to do like some X's and O's or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah, we can get a whiteboard in here.
There we
And
go.
I'll just
There we
have
go.
like 11. I'll just have a couple different. We'll have like 3 on the top row so we can see it.
Deal.
We'll have
Deal.
it all set up.
If we can
Cool.
actually get that, that would be great. It
Yeah.
makes it so much easier.
I
But
think we can.
hey, if you as a listener are interested in getting some actual visual content to this, tell Williams that he wants that to happen.
This will be on YouTube, won't it?
Yeah.
Aiden? Yeah, Aiden's shaking his head.
There
Yes,
you go.
we're good. Yeah. So watch it on YouTube. I love watching podcasts on YouTube. I'll hook it up next to the PS5 and just watch a show while I'm gaming. That's one of my favorite activities. I don't know.
Apparently too old for that.
I
Me too,
found out
guess.
Woody
We found out
listens
we're the
to-
same age.
Yeah. Woody listens to podcasts differently than I do. Everybody does though. So however you guys, whatever you guys enjoy, let us know, leave feedback. And I hope you appreciated this episode at the very least.
We'll be back every Tuesday.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Let's get it.